Happy Thursday, everybody. Max Scoville here, filling in for Nars with your daily fix of gaming news. If you thought that buying the physical version of Modern Warfare 2 might save you some internet bandwidth, think again. The Callisto Protocol has been cancelled in Japan because it's actually too gory, and Phil Spencer says that Xbox Game Pass and Xbox consoles might be raising prices, but not right now. Let's do this. Once upon a time, buying a physical copy of a game meant that you could pop it into your device of choice and just start playing it, and with the rise of day one patches, that has become less and less true. And in the case of this year's Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, if you buy the physical version, you're basically buying an empty box. Okay, so technically there is a disc in there, and it's not blank, but it only has 72 megabytes of data on it. Upon loading it up, you're going to be prompted to download a massive day one update that is over 100 gigabytes, so it feels a little weird to call it an update when it's the whole friggin' game. The file size of recent Call of Duty games has been a bone of contention among players, not just for being a strain on internet bandwidth, but also for hogging hard drive space. PS5 players are feeling this disproportionately since the revolutionary lightning-fast hard drive of Sony's next-gen console is also a paltry 825 gigs, and really only 667 gigs because of system files. Once Modern Warfare 2 and its various patches and texture packs are fully installed on a PS5, it takes up over 150 gigs of space. Now keep in mind, that isn't even the full package. The Battle Royale mode Warzone 2.0 doesn't drop until November 16th, and it's safe to assume that there will be an update or two to go along with it. Obviously, having to download stuff is kind of a necessary evil for gaming in 2022, but Activision shipping out millions of plastic cases with effectively blank discs inside seems a little bit wasteful. Okay, so sure, a physical box is easier to sell in stores, and it's more fun to gift wrap and unwrap for the holidays, and of course, punching in a bunch of letters and numbers to redeem a code might be more work than a lot of people want, and popping a disc into a slot is a good solution for that, and obviously there is that select group of players who are already sounding off in the comments about how they like to have physical boxes displayed on their shelves, but this is kind of dumb. I mean, it's a waste of a Blu-ray even. 72 megs, you could fit that shit on a CDR, or a zip disc even. If you know what a zip disk is, go do some stretches because you are old enough to have back pain. Speaking of bodily harm, you're going to be dishing out plenty of that in the upcoming action horror game The Callisto Protocol, unless of course you live in Japan, where it's been cancelled for its gruesome violence. Posted on the official social media channels, a statement from Striking Distance Studio reads, quote, "We have decided to discontinue the Japanese version of the Callisto Protocol. We've determined that the game cannot pass the SARO rating in its current state, and that changing the content will not provide the experience that players expect. We would appreciate your understanding in Japan." They've obviously refunded pre-orders they got over there, but it's still a bummer. SARO is basically the Japanese equivalent of America's ESRB or Europe's PEGI, and in order to get a Japanese release, tons of Western games have to adhere to its standards regarding violence and nudity. Japanese analyst Dr. Serkan Toto was able to offer some insight on Twitter, noting that Japanese versions of GTA 5, Cyberpunk 2077, The Witcher, The Last of Us, and even Uncharted had to cut content to appease the ratings board. Even games developed in Japan, like Resident Evil, get a less gory release on their home turf, and often two versions of a game are released, a heavily censored version and a gory version that gets SARO's Z rating, meaning that it can only be sold to people over the age of 18, and those versions are still censored compared to their Western counterparts. Other games might get a pass by simply toning down the blood and guts, but as a spiritual successor to Dead Space, the Callisto Protocol once again uses dismemberment as one of its core mechanics, so trying to hack off that key part of the gameplay might have just gruesomely murdered the whole experience as a whole. Anyway, the Callisto Protocol comes out everywhere but Japan on December 2nd, just in time for the holidays. Speaking of the holidays, jolly old Phil Spencer says that the price of Xbox Game Pass and of Xbox consoles themselves may very well see an increase in the near future, but it's not going to happen this year. Appearing on Wall Street Journal Live, the Xbox boss stated, quote, "I do think at some point we'll have to raise the prices on certain things, but going into this holiday, we thought it was important to maintain the prices," Spencer reassured. He continued, "We've held price on our console, we've held price on games and our subscription. I don't think we'll be able to do that forever. I do think at some point we'll have to raise some prices on certain things." Usually we see the price of consoles going down over time, but that doesn't seem to be the case this time around due to global inflation rates. Sony recently increased the price of the PS5 by roughly 10%, basically everywhere but the US, and it sounds like Xbox may be following suit. Anyway, if you're looking to snag either of these consoles on the cheap, go follow IGN Deals on Twitter, and while I'm plugging IGN stuff, you should also check out IGN Playlist. It's a handy way to keep track of your game library, make lists of your favorite games, keep track of what you're playing, and even discover new games that you've never even heard of. You can find that at IGN ign.com/playlist, or check out the dedicated iOS or Android apps. That's your fix. I'm your Max. Head to IGN to check out a ton of new indie game trailers that came out of the Mixed Next event this morning. And remember, as Nars would say, always stay fabulous, or else. I added that last part.